And one person, and I've worked with men, particularly who said this, one person never apologizes.
Mm-hmm.
Or the apology is, and we could do a whole thing on the art of how to apologize, right. Because hey, if your feelings were hurt about this, I'm sorry. That's not a real apology.
That's a horrible apology.
That's not a real apology.
Right.
You know, I'm sorry if it made you feel blah blah blah. So
it's almost like
no
you're not taking responsibility. Right. You're not taking responsibility, and you leave that situation in a stressful position. Yeah. And it's like one of you, usually the person, is walking on eggshells. They're not comfortable in their own relationship. They're not comfortable with it. So they're walking on eggshells.
So because go ahead.
Well, I kind of want to push back on arguing being a sign of difficult and not toxic. I think that having disagreements in a relationship is normal. But I feel like arguing is more contentious. It's more loaded. Arguing is
What's the difference in your mind between arguing and a disagreement?
Yeah, so we could even call it a debate, for example. But I think a disagreement is like we're having a conversation to understand like why this is happening. Okay. It seems more positive to me. But when I hear, like, if somebody came to me and they're like, we're just always arguing so much, like, I don't know that I would see that as a positive thing. It's like if you're constantly arguing, I think that can be toxic. But again, if you're having disagreements, I think that's...
You said constantly, which I said toxic. Toxic is repeated.
Okay.
So if it's a repeated argument all the time, there's a problem with that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I agree with that. I was just making sure.
I just find it interesting. Is something to think about, arguing versus having a disagreement. Well, here's what I think.
I'm such a words person.
Here's what I think you're saying. It's okay to disagree without becoming disagreeable.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
It's not personal.
That's why I think arguing feels like, well, now we're like, it feels combative, right?
Yeah.
Whereas disagreeing is like...
Okay, I see your distinction. I'm not sure, because I use the word arguing a lot. I'm not sure I've ever thought about it being combative, but I think for the purpose of coming up with working definitions, when we use a word, here's what we're actually saying. So yeah, that makes sense. It makes sense to me. Okay, so...
Let's look at toxic a little bit further.
Okay.
Sometimes you deal with, like I said, it's patterns. The problem continues, and then there's possibly jealousy. There's a controlling aspect. There's possibly a lying aspect, and the explosive conflicts.
There's the jealousy.
Yeah, what do you mean there's possibly jealousy?
In what situation?
Why in a relationship?
A very insecure person is jealous when his wife or husband or wife goes away or goes out or something. There's some jealousy there.
Wait a minute. Okay, I get the part about jealousy. Let's say we're both here working and you got some huge promotion and all of a sudden you're CEO of the company, or your business takes off and you're making triple the income, which I welcome that, by the way, that I'm making. I hear what you're saying,
but you can't believe it.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. That's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Well, and like I say, it's not. It wouldn't be like. I don't think it would be so much that. Now there might be some feelings of intimidation or something if that person didn't make this amount of money or whatever.
You work with somebody of the opposite sex and you say to me, hey, we've got this meeting tomorrow morning, or we're both going to Chicago tomorrow. I mean, there are all kind of rules about how you should travel with somebody of the opposite sex. But let's say you're just meeting up there for a meeting. You mean I could be, as a toxic part of the relationship, jealous about you going off in that situation? Is that what you're saying?
So absolutely. You are stepping away from let's say my little box, and you're stepping into something else. So yes, I began to feel jealous. I'm checking in. I'm wondering what you're doing. And so that's the toxic behavior part.
Yeah, because I was going to say, that's problematic.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I
just
said. That's toxic
behavior.
Yes.
Okay. I mean, now that you say that, it makes so much sense, but I guess I'm still stuck on the fact that how does that even happen?
And you leave the partner stuck into a state of fear. She's going. The
jealous partner or
no,
the other partner?
The other partner. He or she is in a state of fear, wondering, maybe what he's thinking or whatever, because he's checking, he or she checking, whatever.